welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're taking a deep, investigative look into a truly fascinating modern phenomenon. We're exploring how everyday technology, the cameras in our doorbells, the monitors in our offices, the phones in our pockets, are inadvertently capturing events that completely defy explanation. We're essentially building a dossier of the unexplained, using the very surveillance tools meant to keep us safe. Okay, let's dive right into this. We are being watched, but thanks to modern technology, we are finally watching back. It's a pretty chilling thought, right? For centuries, humanity has shared stories of feeling watched by unseen presences in the dark. But now, with high-definition lenses on our homes, our dashboards, and our wrists, we are finally watching back. Our personal cameras are essentially building a terrifying, real-time dossier of the unknown, logging anomalies that we might otherwise just dismiss as our imaginations playing tricks on us. Section 1. Phantom intruders at home. So to start our investigation, we need to look at where we feel safest, our homes. Imagine this. A family had been hearing strange noises around their house for days, totally unexplainable stuff. Desperate for answers, they set up Ring cameras around the property. Well, one night they captured something entirely bizarre. A strange glowing orb is seen just hovering in the living room. The moment it drifts closer to their resting dog, the dog suddenly jumps up and quickly runs away, clearly startled by this thing. Smart dog, honestly. But it gets weirder. A few nights later, they capture an anomaly again. This time, their outdoor camera catches a dark, shadowy figure coming out of the house to the outside before heading back in. One of the dogs actually notices it and bravely barks at the shadow, which seems to be what makes it retreat back inside. To this day, they have absolutely no idea what's going on around their house, but they continue to capture these strange sightings. And this pattern of escalation, it's definitely not isolated. In a completely different home, a young couple living in an apartment documented some crazy anomalies. We're talking flickering lights, disembodied knocking, and even hanging dog collars moving completely on their own while the woman was just trying to bake a pie. But the visual evidence is what's really staggering here. They captured a dark figure disappearing into a window, and later, a shadow figure actually moving across the reflection in their bedroom mirror. The absolute clincher, though, a second-floor window reflection captured the entity again. Keep in mind, they live well above the ground floor, so whatever was out there, it definitely wasn't just a person walking by. And these intrusions aren't just happening in modern apartments. Take Jack's 1920s antique-filled house. This event kicks off with pure animal intuition. His cats start meowing frantically and literally crashing into his bedroom door to get his attention. Then, the camera captures a sudden, intense drop in temperature, followed by this bizarre wind blowing leaves inside the house. Papers just fly off the table, and an incredibly heavy chandelier begins swinging violently on its own. The cats completely sense the shifting environment before Jack even turned around. So, we've seen what happens in busy suburban homes and packed apartment complexes. It's easy to wonder if neighborly interference could be at play. But what happens when the haunting follows us into complete isolation, when there are no neighbors around to blame? Section 2. Surveillance in isolated spaces. Let's set the scene. You're miles away from the nearest town. It's pitch black, and the only set of eyes looking out is your security camera. The following video was taken on June 1st, 2026. This man lives completely alone in his RV, and it's late at night when he notices something deeply unsettling. The footage shows a dark shadow figure physically entering the RV. Then, the heavy RV door begins opening and closing completely on its own. You can actually see the dark figure peek out, almost as if it noticed the man recording. Then, the lights click off. Right before the video ends, the figure can be seen through the top window, just watching him before moving out of sight. He was so terrified he didn't even dare go inside to check. Real ghost or not, I'll let you judge. Just 2 days later, on June 3rd, 2026, a woman named Alina captured something unexplainable on her CCTV camera. She lives in a secluded farmhouse, far away from anyone else. One night, she hears a loud, sudden bang outside, so her husband bravely goes out into the dark to check it out. He didn't see or hear anything strange. But when Alina reviews the footage, she sees a strange, luminous object at the top of a tree, almost blending in. And if you look closely, whatever it is actually appears to actively hide behind the tree when the husband comes out to inspect the noise. They are left with so many questions. Just what is this thing, and did it make that sudden noise they heard? Let me know what you think. Then we have the case of the abandoned trailer. A woman's grandfather passed away inside this rural trailer back in 2024. It's been abandoned ever since. Well, the woman and a friend decided to drive up and check on it. As they arrived, they heard a strange squeaking sound coming from the floorboards, matching the exact same sound her grandfather used to make when he'd walk to his room. They decided to stop and record for a bit. Suddenly, they panic after noticing a creepy, pale, faceless entity peeking out at them from the window. Creeped out, they completely bolt. But before they left, she snapped a picture. When comparing it to a photo of her grandfather, she couldn't believe the uncanny resemblance. So, is his soul somehow bound to the trailer where he lived and died, or is this something else entirely? It's one thing to feel uneasy in an abandoned trailer or a remote RV. We almost expect those places to be a little creepy. But are these just isolated incidents, or does the haunting continue when we clock in for a shift? Do these anomalies follow us into the bright fluorescent lighting of the modern workspace? Section 3. When workplaces turn sinister. Let's examine what happens when a totally normal workplace turns sinister. On June 7, 2026, around 6:40 p.m., two office workers were just finishing up their shift. One girl gets up to look at a report at the next desk. Suddenly, an empty office chair forcefully rolls backward on its own, and a heavy wooden desk literally lifts slightly off the ground. Naturally, they ran out of the office completely frightened. But here's the crazy part. Viewers notice that in the mirror's reflection, the computer screen at that desk actually changed windows. Even if the desk moved, something would have had to physically click the mouse button to change that screen. After regaining her composure, one of the girls bravely tiptoes back in to collect her things, audibly asking out loud for forgiveness, completely convinced the office is haunted. And they mentioned this isn't the first time strange things have happened there either. Next, we move from the office to healthcare. Real quick, a call light is simply the physical button hospital or hospice patients press when they urgently need assistance from the nursing staff. It triggers a light and an alert at the nurse's station. So, keeping that in mind, listen to this. Madeline, a CNA, was working the night shift in a hospice center. Over a 12-hour shift, the call light from one specific room went off 3 separate times. The catch? That room was completely empty. No patient was assigned to it. Terrified, she recorded herself walking into the dark room to reset the system one last time. As she steps through the threshold, the microphone picks up a clear, disembodied whisper just saying, "Help me." We've looked at the domestic sphere, the isolated fringes, and the structured workplace. But this leads us to a final, imposing question. If the walls of our homes and our offices can't keep these anomalies out, what exactly awaits us when we venture into the vast, unforgiving spaces of the great outdoors? Section 4. Eerie Outdoor Anomalies. We're heading out to the boiling Nevada deserts, specifically to a natural hot spring ominously called the Devil's Cauldron. An explorer named Techrax did an experiment where he lowered a fully working iPhone down into the abyss on a fishing line. And this brilliantly illustrates the scientific method. Drop test 1 goes perfectly, just ambient wind, no strange noises. But on drop test 2, the phone is lowered deeper. Suddenly, the audio abruptly cuts out, and the microphone records what literally sounds like eerie, tormented screams echoing from deep within the earth. Now, looking at this objectively, the Devil's Cauldron reaches extreme temperatures of over 200 degrees Fahrenheit. It's totally plausible that the intense heat warped the microphone, causing a severe digital glitch that merely sounded like human screaming. However, local indigenous tribes have historically viewed this exact spot as a spiritual void, a trap for lost souls in agony. So, did the phone just suffer a thermal meltdown, or did it capture an ancient legend? And before we close out our files, consider this rapid-fire outdoor anomaly. A woman sitting alone in her rural home suddenly hears an unknown music box playing on her empty front porch. She grabs her phone and steps toward the door. Just before the music stops abruptly, a disembodied voice whispers right through the screen door, "She's here." Section 5. What are we capturing? Which brings us to the ultimate question of this explainer. What exactly are we capturing? When we look at all this evidence together, from a family home capturing orbs and shadow figures on a Ring camera, to an empty hospice room recording a disembodied voice on a phone, to the tormented screams caught by a drone drop in the Devil's Cauldron, we see a larger picture. The locations are wildly different. The entities are distinct. The capture methods range from automated security to purposeful experiments. Yet the through line is undeniable. Our everyday technology is inadvertently catching the exact same bizarre phenomena across the board. So I leave this with you. We've presented the timelines, the data, and the stories straight from the source. Are all of these captures simply a collection of digital glitches, shifting shadows, and audio malfunctions? Or is the veil between our everyday world and whatever lies beyond it finally being caught on camera? It certainly makes you wonder, what might your own cameras capture while you sleep tonight?